Professor Leckman, we came to the end of this 11th International Training Seminar, which has been extremely enriching and interesting for all the students that attended. Do you have any final take-home message for those students who are now traveling back to their home countries?
Well, I certainly wish them a safe travel home, and I'm very grateful for their willingness to come and participate with us. It was quite special for me to meet so many people from around the world that have such a strong passion for our field, and they really do represent the future. And it was wonderful for me to be able to interact directly with them and to make some suggestions and to learn from them about all of the work that they're undertaking in their countries from really all over the world. So I think it reminded me again of how interconnected we all are, professionally in terms of our colleagues, but also in terms of their dedication to the families and to the children that they serve. And I was delighted with the opportunity to think with them about how we might refocus to some degree, to focus on prevention rather than simply on addressing the problems that have come to exist. Because for me, one story after another led to the conclusion that if we can intervene earlier, we can make a bigger difference in the world today that we live in. And some of the neurobiology, some of the epigenetics, and some of the long-term prospective longitudinal data, as well as some of the economic data, all point to the earlier we do something, the bigger the benefit will be, and the more lasting the effects will be. So for me, that's one of the take-home messages. But the biggest one is there are wonderful people in the world who are actually trying to make a difference for children and families. The other wonderful thing for me, of course, was to meet them, but also to renew my friendship with Professor Koffel and the individuals who have been leading this effort. I'm so impressed with Professor Bennett Leventhal and the other faculty members that joined us. And it's just fun to be with them and to be part of this team.
Thanks for such an encouraging messages. And changing topic, I know this week has been the occasion of finalizing the final stage of the project Enter that you are leading in union with Professor Koffel. Can you please tell us a bit more about this project?
Yeah, so that began more than 10 years ago, and it's a wonderful story. There may not be time for telling you the entire story, but it was actually in Sharm el-Sheikh that we began a discussion, and then in Jerusalem I went to this meeting of the parents of a YMCA group in Jerusalem that were half Arab and were half Israeli Jewish, and they had a joint kindergarten. So their children were in the same kindergarten. And the person leading the effort was Shafiq Masala. And Shafiq is an Arab-Israeli man who trained in his psychology training at Berkeley. And we had a conversation after the meeting about what we could do. And part of the meeting was the conversation between the parents of the Arab Israelis and the parents of the Jewish Israeli children that were in the kindergarten. And we watched this movie together, and on one side of me I had Dr. Zakut Iyad, who was translating the Arabic, and on the other side was Ruth Feldman, who was translating the Hebrew. And it's a wonderful story too. I probably shouldn't go into the details, but after that we organized a meeting with Ernesto to come together and the Italian embassy in Berlin. And it was at that meeting that we had the first larger group of people. And the very last meeting was one that took place in Firenze in August of 2013. But it's a wonderful story along the way, and what we have learned is that if we work together, if we talk, if we sing together, if we have meals together, it's very hard for people to see them as other. They become human beings just like they are. And they're working very hard together now to try and advance the communication between both sides and to benefit the children. So the term Ereche is something like the empowerment and resilience for children everywhere. And it turns out that the very first meeting after the meeting in Berlin was in Sicily, in Ereche, And one of the people came up with this acronym, ERCE, but it was also the city that we were meeting in. And I guess some of my fond memories are of singing together and also having meals together as part of that group. And now the group is a bit larger, and one of the things that has been clear, and this is really under Professor Koffel's leadership, is that if we really want to move this ahead in a positive way, what we need to do is find a way to have a non-governmental organization formed here in Italia so that there is a place where people can donate money. There's sort of an organizational structure. We have a group of people who will be the senior advisors, and it will just be a wonderful occasion. And hopefully this will take place in July, where they'll actually come and actually sign the documents to create the non-governmental organization.
It sounds really promising and really interesting. We thank you very much for being here. We wish you all the luck for your next visit to Italy in July.
Grazie mille.